Welcome everybody, our second day of the Leadership Public Management. We are so excited today. We have all the presenters here. All the presenters are ready. They're ready to give us all the information. We have a moderator who will introduce the presenters in a few minutes, but we are very excited. We have a great day, amazing day, presentations. We will be posting the presentations one by one. So please take your time to review those presentations. Are amazing. You can read it in the booklet, but it's not the same to be there. So next year's, please come. It is amazing. Now, how it will work? I see people coming. Hi, everybody. How it will work is you can post your questions here, and I will be telling the presenters whatever questions you have. You will post your questions. If you are in YouTube, please post your questions there. And if you are in Facebook, you also can post your questions there. And we will be reading the questions. Some questions will appear automatically as well. So we will have a full day. Please send the questions before, after, any moment. We will have time to work with all you in all of these presentations. It's very exciting. Doing live is not easy. Doing live is not easy. It's a lot of work, and we are very excited about that. So right now I will be removing the presenters one by one because we will introduce Dr. Jason. Dr. Jason Rivera, he is, let me just keep removing. Check it out. This is very interesting how we work on this. Dr. Jason Rivera. Guys, could you remove yourselves also? Okay. Sophia, okay, here it is. Perfect. So Dr. Jason Rivera is the chair of the public management in John Jay College, and we are very happy to have him. Very happy because he is really a trendsetter. He can make, it's not only a year as a chair, he can make a lot of changes. Research, do this, do that. He always surprised me with, I was just walking around, hey, you have to do that. But he's very innovative, and this is the person that is a role model. Is a role model. So welcome, Dr. Jason Rivera.
Thank you, Dr. Morote, and thank you for the very warm and very positive welcome to the changes that I'm trying to make within the Department of Public Management. So I really want to start by saying it's a pleasure to be here among all of you presenting at the conference, listening in, because today, in today's world, it's extremely important to provide spaces and provide opportunities, provide support for underrepresented leaders in education and the stakeholders that really are there to develop a space and to support not only the leaders, but the people that we serve, not in public education and in public service. The Department of Public Management here at John Jay is dedicated to really developing our future public service leaders, in addition to our nonprofit leaders of tomorrow. The majority of our students here at John Jay are ethnic and racial minorities, and we take pride in really trying to meet them where they are, so that we can better support and the communities from which they come. Now, I would like to thank several people, Dr. Morote, for putting this conference together, the conference collaborators that made this all possible, the sponsorship of the International Journal of Faculty and Leadership Development, in addition to the Office for the Advancement of Research here at John Jay College of Criminal Justice that made all of this possible. Tonight, you're going to hear a series of presentations that really go beyond what we think of in traditional public service or in public management or even in public administration. They really span the various sectors for public service. So I really encourage you, please pay attention to what you hear tonight. Learn from the leaders that you hear and are here before you. These are really the people that can really drive the discipline, our communities forward, and really serve as a support mechanism for all of us in these very, very trying times, where there is attacks on underrepresented peoples in positions of leadership. Thank you. Have a great evening, everyone.
Dr. Rivera, could you talk us about our programs? Let me just put our a little. We need to do our commercial, please. We need to do our commercial because
Sure.
so let me just put here a bit about our programs.
So within the Department of Public Management, we have 3 undergraduate programs. Our largest current undergraduate program is Criminal Justice Management, where we train leaders that want to be within the criminal justice system or in the correction system, but not as correction officers or necessarily frontline individuals, but individuals dedicated to the management of these organizations and these political systems. We also have our traditional public administration undergraduate program, which is a more generalist type of public administration or public service oriented degree program, training individuals wanting to go into entry-level positions in a variety of both local, county, and federal level government organizations, in addition to the nonprofit sector. And then finally, we have our fraud examination and financial forensics program. And this is really geared towards providing training for forensic, for individuals interested in forensic accounting, people that are interested in getting into oversight and investigations of organizations, and people that really want to work for investigator general's offices that are going into auditing types of fields. At the graduate level, we have 2 programs. We have 2 MPA programs, one in the traditional public policy and public administration, and then we have an inspection and oversight, which is really geared towards IGs and inspector generals, and what they do to really make our organizations accountable and transparent to the public. All of these programs are really geared towards effective and transparent and accountable leadership. And so we strive to provide these types of skill sets to our students. Also here at John Jay, and also as part of our accrediting body, NASPA, we adhere to a strict notion and credos that is related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so our curriculum really reflects those values, and we instill the values of diversity, equity, and inclusion among all our students, regardless of whatever sector or whatever organization or whatever field they're going into.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rivera, and thank you for coming to our conference, and we appreciate your time. And you can keep enjoying our in the YouTube challenge. We have YouTube channel, and we'll see you. Say no more questions.
Okay, thank you so much. Enjoy the conference.
Bye. Now we have Dr. Hamid Iran. He is the moderator of this conference online. So I will leave Dr. Iran so he can tell us or welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Marote. Hey, everyone. Good evening. How is everyone doing? We had such a great introduction from Dr. Jason Rivera about the Department of Public Management. And this is the conference that the department has put together, and such a great opportunity for us to not only listen to the great presenter, but also get connected with the department. Thank you so much for John Jay. Thank you so much for the Public Management Department to give us this avenue to talk about the several topics today. And the topics are very interesting today. They span around Hispanic employees to correctional environments, to global perspective to leadership and management. And we have also a great presentation on the trending AI, the future-based decision making in using generative AI. So this is such a great conference that we have here tonight, and I welcome all the presenters. I have this great privilege to be moderating this session, and our first presenter is Dr. Sofia Marote, who is going to present her topic of a roadmap for Hispanic employees in the public sector. Before I put Dr. Marote here, I also wanted to introduce the Dowling International Academy that I co-founded, and we have a journal from our platform, which is published annually. We have already published twice. This is our third year. So the International Journal of Faculty and Leadership Development is open, is welcoming a call for, is asking for call for reviewers and call for papers. Please take participation in this amazing journal, which is dedicated to leaders development and faculty development. I have put the link here for the journal in the comment section. Please do visit us and try to volunteer for the reviewer services or submit your papers. Amazing papers. The presenters that are presenting today, you have the priority to please submit your full papers. It doesn't have to be empirical research studies. Any essays, brief papers, brief studies are welcome to be published with our journals. So our first presenter, Dr. Sofia Marote, who is going to talk about a roadmap for Hispanic employees in the public sector.
Hello, everybody, and thank you very much, Dr. Ikram. We are so excited for this conference. Let me just begin the presentation. Here it is. So let me just talk about my research on Hispanic services. Here it is. In a roadmap for Hispanic employee advancement in the public sector. So I did this research trying to figure out what we can do to include diversity and inclusion, specifically in this case on Hispanics in the public sector. For that, I interviewed 10 Hispanic leaders. And my intention with this research is try to create a roadmap so we have more diversity in the public sector, especially because the Hispanic group is growing. So the intention is create this roadmap. I use something that we call liberatory approach to power dynamics. This was published in a book, and they request me to focus on that approach. Who I will talk a little briefly about what that means. So we have in the current state of the Hispanic, we have 18% of the U.S. population is Hispanic, and we have 9.5% in the federal workforce, and only 5% are senior executives. So as you see, there is a disparity. We have 18% of the population being Hispanic, but only 5% are identify themselves as Hispanic. The interesting thing in the surveys about DIA that the federal did in the last 3 years, they realized that the Hispanic population, the Hispanic employees in the public service, they are the less satisfied. The less satisfied in diversity, here it is. The less satisfied in equity, in inclusion, and accessibility. In all of the 3 areas, they were the less satisfied on those areas. So what challenge they found, this is based on research that I did, the Spanish found that there is lack of support. The Spanish employees face higher drop-off rates and limited access to mentorship. They also found that it's a hostile environment. They found microaggressions, linguistic prejudice, and cultural insensitivity that create barriers. Only 1/3 of the Hispanic federal employees felt they could report violations without fear of reprisal. That's very important. So they were afraid to report, but because they were afraid of, being repercussions. And it's also statistically, it was found that there's a compensation disparities. So the Spanish employees make less money than their counterparts in the public sector. So what is the liberatory approach that I use to create these 3 steps in order to include the Hispanic population in the public administration? So we have 3 steps, something that we call Power 2. Power 2 is the agency that confers connection with the community. The power of the Hispanic public service is the connection they have with the community. That's the Power 2. The Power with is this individual creates solidarity and start creating that collaborative groups with dynamics. And something was very interesting to me, something that we call Power between, in which is the self-efficacy and the strong sense of identity. The people that I interview, they were really, really focused on their population, and they focus on doing good work because they identify with them. They really want to help their population. It's important that there was an empowerment. So this framework moves from beyond traditional power hour concept of control and influence to focus on empowerment through self-efficacy, which is power between. So you get those skills, and solidarity is power with, and agency, which is power to. These interconnected forms of the power are essential on promoting justice and dismantling oppressive systems. Now, here's my methodology. For those who don't know me, I am really a quantitative researcher. But the last years, I have been my second dissertation, my second doctoral degree, I did focus on qualitative research. So really I learned how to use qualitative research. So I did an interview with 10 Hispanic public administrators. I collect the data, and I discussed with them several topics between 30 and 45 minutes, and analyze the content. I use all the techniques of qualitative research in order to create those teams and find what makes them to be successful, how they become the leaders of the community, the leaders in their community. So this is the key findings. This is so interesting. The first is self-identity. They actually believe that they believe in themselves. Politics and governments are different. You can do a lot with government, which is what it got me. I wanted to support my community. This is the kind of comments that people do. Self-efficacy, leadership meetings, to try to attend a lot of educational workshops. Securing close 30% of our current budget signifies a significant accomplishment, and it was achieved through my dedicated efforts. So this is the kind of comments of self-identity. They want to support the community. Self-efficacy, they start learning, they start assuring they have the power. And then we have challenge of power in between. They were worried. Something was interesting to me is they were worried about one second. They were worried about they were more worried about serving the community than they were more worried what the literature says, because I was pushing them, asking questions what the literature says about profiling, stereotyping, microaggressions, isolation, intersectionality. No, you're Hispanic and woman, you will have more challenge, for example. Or you are Hispanic and gay, you're Hispanic and, different religion. You can be Hispanic and Muslim as well, or Hispanic and Jew. So all this intersectional is also creating interesting thing. But they were not the converse. Even I was pushing them to talk about that. They didn't want to focus on that. They wanted to focus on the people they serve. And then they will keep, for this is one example, you must go the extra mile because you are expected to do much more than others. We have a very few Latinos in the government. And when I heard that, I was very identified because yes, I didn't realize that as an Hispanic, I have always do the extra mile. Not thinking about we are few, but it's I think it's you want to do good, you want to really help, you want to really be supported of the community. And being in the public service, you understand that people look for you. People look for you. They want to talk with you. They feel more comfortable talking to you, especially they're Hispanic. Not only Hispanic, we have people who speak English is not a second language. They identify because immigrants. They identify with you in different ways, not only for being Hispanic. They identify with you because you are a person of color. So there is a lot of intersectionality that you can see the Hispanic public servant helping those populations who need it, who really look for somebody who understands what they're living. What they say during that period when they are become leaders, they start using themselves in formal mentorship. The Hispanic employees take upon themselves and welcome new Hispanic colleagues. They start helping others. They do a lot of community advocacy. Community advocacy is part of a Hispanic leader in the public service. You will see them working with the community, helping the community, and looking to help different people. And resource procurement. Well, they find resources in order to get what the population need. So this is one comment of the interviewers. There is a profound sense of satisfaction that I experience when helping the community bridge the language and cultural gaps. So they were just helping. So this is a call for action for this. Supporting Hispanic employees. We need to create a supported networks and mentorship opportunities. We need to educate our colleagues, raise awareness about Hispanic community needs. Sometimes people don't know what the Hispanic community actually is looking for help on different areas. Language is one, but there could be the other areas. The cross-cultural communication is also important. There's a lot of accent discrimination, for example, language barriers, especially if you are the first new immigrant in this country. And then they build in solidarity, foster collaboration groups, different groups, create that environment. This is another person saying, I believe our biggest challenge is to educate public servants proactively. Many of them are completely unaware, with some mistakenly equally Spanish with illegal immigrants. So this was my 3 steps for action. I will stop by because we need some questions. I know you have some questions for me. The step 1 is Power Within. Empower Hispanic employees through mentorship, networking, and professional development to enhance self-efficacy and identity. Power With. Foster community integration through cross-cultural communication, anti-racist training, and recognition of Hispanic diversity. And Power 2. Implemented policy changes and accountability measures with equity, representation, and inclusion. So that is, and then I explained the 3 things, but I don't want to continue because I know I see questions coming from the audience. So leave me 1 second, and I will stop my screen. And so I'm ready for your questions. I see. Let me see. Oh, okay. So 1 second, please. I have to. Sometimes the questions come directly to myself. 1 second, please. Okay. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second, please. Yeah. I'm sorry, I need to text the other presenter because there's a problem there. Okay, good. So the situation here, they're asking me about the experience of interviewing the Hispanic leaders. I went to the entire Long Island in New York and identified those leaders. They were upper positions. there are few leaders. And then I invited, I said, listen, I want to talk to you. I want to have this conversation. To me, the most important thing was that I was looking for complaint. I really, as a researcher, because I did all this literature review about microaggression, all of these things, I was thinking I will have a meeting and we will complain and so forth. No, their positions were always about, I am here to serve my community. And that to me was one of my surprises on the findings. I am here to help others. I am here, and that's one thing. The other thing what's interesting is they were overworked, because for suppose you have one Hispanic employee and you have many. There is sections there is areas in New York that are, the Hispanic population is huge, and you have one Hispanic employee serving all of them, and the people are looking forward to talk with them, to talk with them. So they're overworked, and not only, as I said, not only the Hispanic, but also people of color, people with English as second language. If they have a public servant who have some features they can identify, they would prefer to talk with this person. The other thing is, to me, what's interesting is the connection with the community that the Hispanic population has is very strong. So it's a person who goes to the community, who goes to the galas, who goes to the meetings, who go and help fundraising. That is, I think that was the major finding for me. Even it's very interesting because I knew it, but I didn't. It's something that you don't think until you talk with others. Because when I was talking with them, I said, "Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's what I do." It was very difficult as a qualitative researcher to separate myself being Hispanic on the things I was hearing. So it was very difficult for qualitative research. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure with you to be today. Let me just come back at the stage, Dr. Igran. Do you have more questions for me, Dr. Igran?
Yes, actually, I have been reading all the social media that we are live on, and I will try to sum up all these questions and comments. First of all, Dr. Marote, thank you for a powerful and thoughtful presentation. I think your research brings much needed attention to leadership development and equity for Hispanic professionals in public service. And this is the presentation that I can personally relate to, being an immigrant. This is something that draws my attention so much. Thank you for that. And the question that I have here is, what is one key barrier Hispanic employees face in the public sector today, and how agencies can begin to address it? Just one key factor, key barrier, if you have to identify.
The barrier is microaggressions.
Mm.
I think was because it's very difficult to identify microaggressions. It's very difficult to say this person look at me like that, and people can say it's your imagination, or people are not hiring somebody because they speak with an accent, or the English is not clear in that moment. I think that's the major challenge, especially for new immigrants. Even if the English is perfect, it still have an accent, so there is a lot of pushback. I think that's the major barrier. But I think awareness is important, and understanding that we all different and we all speak English with an accent. Not only for the Hispanic, there is people who come from India. They speak English, that's their language, and they still people feeling like, oh no, you're speaking with an accent, you may don't know English. They know perfectly English. So I think that's something that those taboos we need to work as a society to understand the people, even here in the United States, a person from Texas will speak differently. And this has to be part of the normal way to live. And if we normalize this, I think that will be a big advance.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Marote. So our next presentation, which I am really looking forward to personally, being a faculty member in Criminal Justice Department, and this presentation is going to talk about the future leaders reflect on the importance of relationship in correctional environment. And I would like to invite Dr. Michelle Gant and her team to walk us through their research, walk us through their papers on future leaders reflect on the importance of relationship in correctional environments. To you, Dr. Grant. You're muted.
There we go. The screen is not sharing. Dr. Ikram, can you share the screen? The presentation? Okay, there we go. All right. So welcome everyone. We are so excited that you're joining us this evening. Future leaders reflect on the importance of relationships in correctional environments. I'm Dr. Michelle Gant, and I have the honor of introducing you to Good Morning Parents research team.
Hello, my name is Miracle Sweat. I am a current graduating senior at the Virginia State University, majoring in criminal justice with a concentration in forensic investigation, and I'm so excited to be here today.
Hi everyone, my name is Sophia Chow. I'm a junior studying psychology at New York University. I'm very honored to be here today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Patrick Karinji. I'm a psychology senior at SUNY Potsdam, and I'm very happy to be here today.
And we also have one more member that's on the screen. Dr. Ikram, if you could let him in. Kelly is also on our team as well, if you see her in the behind the stage. So while he lets Kelly in, I have two roles, as you can see, as the owner and founder of Good Morning Parents, and I'm also honored to serve as the president of DIA, of Dowling International Academy. So I'm honored. So here today, we're going to share the importance of the relationship as our team comes through. So behind every uniform is a person. Behind every incarcerated individual's number is a story. Effective correctional leadership understands both. We're going to talk about the importance of relationships. And then we're talking about how important it is to hear the voices of our future leaders. These are our future leaders. When having over 15 years of experience inside the federal prison as a supervisor, we will often say with each other, what are they thinking? Talking about the younger generation, you hear the statements and the questions. Thank you for joining us, Kelly. Kelly, can you introduce yourself quickly? We don't want to leave you out.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kelly Shagru. I'm currently a senior studying psychology at Farmingdale State College.
Yes, I can leave any of my team members out. They're all amazing. And so it's their voices that make the difference. It's their voices when I'm meeting with them that says, well, what do you think and what is it that you want? So as future leaders, it's important for the current leaders to say, we're handing the baton over. What are they thinking? What would they like to do? So how important are the voices of future leaders? Very important. What is one action you can take to build meaningful connections and establish a more productive correctional environment? So this is what our presentation is going to walk us through. So thank you so much for joining us. And so these were some of the areas that you see. What are their perspective? What are their expectations? Because we're asking, what do they want? What are we doing differently? Again, how important are those relationships and how do we make them work? And what are some of the things to create that supportive and inclusive environment?
So firstly, we're going to take a look into the challenge here. When we think about leadership and corrections, we often picture authority, structure, and rule enforcement. However, what we've discovered is that leadership goes much deeper than that, but at its fundamental core is about connection. Future leaders step into this field with certain expectations about their roles, but many quickly realize that the reality can be quite different. There's often a gap between what they expect and what they actually experience, which can leave them feeling unprepared. Another significant hurdle is the misunderstanding that exists between staff, incarcerated individuals, and the communities that are impacted by incarceration. Stigma and preconceived notions create various barriers that hinder the development of meaningful relationships. Yet without these connections, achieving true rehabilitation and lasting change becomes nearly impossible. Our research here aims to delve into these gaps and shed light on what's necessary to build a stronger, more effective correctional system. Next slide, please. To truly grasp these challenges, we've conducted interviews with both formerly incarcerated individuals and seasoned professionals already in the field. We have adopted an ethnographic and qualitative approach, prioritizing personal stories over mere statistics. We focused on three main areas: the contrast between expectations and reality in leadership, the importance of relationships within correctional environments, and the impact of stigma on both incarcerated individuals and staff. And this approach provided us with genuine human-centered insights as we were able to listen in on inspiring and personal experiences, which were stories that illuminated the complexities of this field in ways that data alone simply can't capture. Next slide, please.
So, some of the key personal experiences. So, interviews were conducted with different individuals in corrections to share their experiences as well as our reactions and thoughts about their journey. My experience from the interview with a formerly incarcerated individual was eye-opening for how the prison and the public view incarcerated individuals. This leaves these individuals feeling like it's a self-help experience instead of a rehabilitation. My experience from the interview with the corrections supervisor was eye-opening in both the difficulties they face daily, as well as the adaptability they must have due to being displaced or promoted, which can force them to move across the country, taking them away from family and friends.
Something I've observed throughout my experiences interviewing formerly incarcerated individuals is that they remember everyone who believed in them. Whether it's a friend, a mentor, caseworker, teacher, or officer, each person who offers encouragement and support leaves a lasting impression. In correctional settings, especially, these moments of support can shift someone's trajectory, helping them build confidence, reflect, and believe in themselves so that they keep working on self-improvement and set new goals they might have never imagined before. This means that every positive interaction that builds a relationship between two individuals is extremely significant. When interviewing corrections supervisors, I learned that leadership isn't just about directing, it's about engaging. True leadership in public service and corrections means being present, means creating space for meaningful discussions, asking thoughtful questions, and genuinely listening. When professionals engage deeply with the people they serve and with each other, it sparks not only personal growth, but better outcomes for the entire community.
What really struck me during these interviews was the importance of human connection. We often picture correctional facilities as rigid environments, but behind those walls are real people, each with their own stories, struggles, and dreams. Being able to hear from professionals and formerly incarcerated individuals truly highlighted the need for empathy and support, and not just for those who are incarcerated, but also for the staff working there. And when I listened to those who had lived through the system, it became clear that community involvement and rehabilitation efforts are vital for helping individuals reintegrate into society successfully. And in the end, these discussions reinforced a powerful message to me, which was that the true change occurs when we stop viewing people solely through the lens of their roles, and start seeing them as individuals who are crucial in contribution to improving the system. Next slide, please.
So, for what future leaders are saying, they have a passion for law enforcement. It is a stepping stone in their career. It serves justice and leadership through authority and structure, and they want to make a positive impact on people's lives. And Miracle will help explain this further.
Absolutely. So the first meaningful interaction with someone who is incarcerated can be a very pivotal moment in terms of the aspirations in the field for future leaders. They soon come to understand that reducing recidivism isn't just about discipline, but it also involves working together, educating, and building community support to bridge the gaps between community and corrections as a whole. They recognize also how crucial trust and communication are for safety and effectiveness within facilities for true success. On the other hand, seasoned professionals emphasize that leadership is the epitome of engagement. And from the data we collected, we were able to see that officers who invest time in understanding individual needs tend to be the most effective. In addition, prioritizing wellness and mental health support for staff is just as essential for rehabilitation for incarcerated individuals. Without strong leadership that values both, this same cycle continues. Next slide, please.
So, who are the keys to change in corrections? We have four main keys that consist of incarcerated individuals who feel the impact of the correction system the most and need to focus on rehabilitation and reintegration. We also have correctional staff who are tasked with keeping safety and order in the facility through the ways they lead and communicate. Future leaders who consist of students and professionals. This is the next wave of change makers who will influence policies and practices. And lastly, but not least, is communities who can help individuals integrate by focusing on social support, employment, and education. Next slide, please.
I'll be sharing some reflections and recommendations grounded in our qualitative research that centers on how to build supportive and productive environments within correctional spaces, using what we call the 6-pillar model. Next slide, please. The 6-pillar model provides a holistic framework for fostering positive environments, whether within families or within systems like corrections. These 6 values, communication, love, education, financial literacy, family fun, and discipline, might seem simple, but together they form a powerful foundation for healing, accountability, and long-term growth. We'll walk through how each of these pillars translate into specific strategies that correctional leaders and staff can use to improve engagement, build trust, and provide effectiveness inside institutions. First, let's talk about understanding roles. Clarity creates confidence. When individuals, whether incarcerated or working in corrections, understand their roles and responsibilities, it reduces confusion and promotes accountability. This starts with education, teaching not just the what, but the why behind each role, and it must be supported by clear communication of expectations. When everyone is aligned, systems run more smoothly, and people feel more empowered to succeed. Next is active communication, grounded in both communication and love. When we talk about love in professional environments, we mean compassion and respect, creating space for open dialogue, regular check-ins, and honest feedback builds trust. It says, I see you and I value what you have to say. When communication is empathetic, it doesn't just manage behavior, it strengthens relationships. Stronger relationships create more cooperative, more mutually supportive correctional environments. The third principle is about providing solutions over complications. Often, systems are constrained by rigid processes on reactive decision-making, but by applying financial literacy and discipline, we can promote strategic, cost-effective choices that prioritize long-term outcomes. In order to encourage responsibility, propose solutions when bringing up a problem, respond with structure, accountability, and purpose to promote overall productivity in a correctional environment. Lastly, we need to facilitate relationships. Family fun and love may seem like abstract concepts, but these values are fundamental to building and nurturing relationships. Programs that foster connection, like family visit enhancements, staff mentorships, or community building activities are crucial to rehabilitation and reentry success. When we recognize the full humanity of every individual, when we say you matter as a person, not just a case file, we create environments where mutual support, dignity, and growth are valued. Next slide, please.
Thank you so much for that, Sophia. Now we'll go into our final key takeaways. Our research has led us to one clear conclusion. Relationships are everything. When trust is built between staff and those who are incarcerated, it fosters a more supportive and rehabilitative atmosphere. We also discovered just how vital empathy is. When leaders take the time to understand the struggles faced by both staff and incarcerated individuals, it paves the way for a more compassionate system. But let's not forget, rehabilitation doesn't just end at correctional facilities. Strong family ties and community support are essential for successful reentry and reducing the chances of reoffending. Another important point is the influence of media and public perception. Negative representations can shape policies and sentencing, often making it tougher to implement meaningful change. And lastly, effective leadership is all about engagement. Leaders who listen, communicate openly, and are committed to continuous learning are the ones who truly drive progress in this area. If we want a correctional system that genuinely works, we need to move past just rules and structures and start prioritizing the people involved.
We believe that social media is a great way to engage with all of you, share our journey, and create a vibrant community. So please don't hesitate to reach out, share your thoughts, and just join the conversation. But thank you guys for having us today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Gant and the panel. Such a beautiful presentation. I have so much comments and questions coming in. So in sake of time, I would just read one question. If you could quickly answer in next 30 seconds. The question is, what would you say would be the best way to help law enforcement professionals to become more compassionate?
It's up to the leadership in the it's up to the leadership to be that example. The leadership in the inside the prison, showing that they care, being commitment, that's contagious. And I only say that because the prison that I had my experience with, we were known as being in the black hole. And I felt that. And I had one of the greatest careers inside the Federal Bureau of Prisons. So it can happen. And we are the example.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So okay, I have so many comments here still. Questions are coming, and I'll make sure to post them to you
Okay.
in an email. And there's people are very happy to listen to your great presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you for having us.
Thanks. Okay, so our next presentation is something that is really interesting because it would give us such a global perspective of leadership. And I want to invite Dr. Chen here, who would present her work on leading social agencies through society work, the Chinese approach to public administration and social work in the post-economic state era. Thank you, Dr. Chen, for coming. To you.
Thank you for the introduction. Thank you. Well, waiting for you to put up my slides. I would just begin by saying that my colleagues just presented wonderful perspectives, about their research. I just would like to add a little bit, international perspective, particularly in terms of China, with 1.4 billion people there. Actually, the Chinese social sciences, they are trying to build a knowledge system of their own. So, what we are talking, daily in our classroom or in our conferences, I just want to make people aware that they may not be the knowledge system for the whole world, because a lot of things are fundamentally, dramatically different in a country with more than 1.4 billion people, like in China. So let me start by let me. Oh, I cannot. Next slide, please. Yeah. One phenomenon very eye-opening is that recently, since 2023, a new word in Chinese, it's called 社会工作. 社会 means social normally. 工作 means work. So that Chinese term, we usually translate it as social work. Okay. However, since 2023, the Communist Party of China, the Central Committee, they established a new department, which is called the Department of 社会工作. At the beginning, they haven't translated it yet, so we all translated it into social work. And particularly the social workers were thrilled that, wow, okay, now look, the party state actually had a central department called social work. So they are very, very hopeful that social work, the status will be greatly promoted. However, things went quite a little bit differently since this 社会工作 entered not just the field of social work. Actually, it's entered in the public space, particularly in policy making, in public administration, in government management. So shortly after the inception of the department, they put forth a new translation of this 社会工作. It's called society work, which is quite shocking to a lot of social workers. Now, let me first talk about the conceptual issues. because that really caused a lot of problems in terms of knowledge building, in terms of our common understanding, because with this single Chinese word, 社会工作, now you have two translations. So it really depends on who is talking about 社会工作. You know, for social workers, they were talking about social work. But for those party, the officials, they were talking about so-called society work. And then what's their definition of society work? So that's going to be very, very interesting. Here, an historical view is very important. Next slide, please. Yeah. First of all, social work, let's talk about social work instead of society work. Social work as a profession. In China, the introduction of professional social work has happened in the early 20th century, when some Western missionaries and they went to China, set up some schools. Not long after the social work as a profession started in the West, particularly like in New York, the charity school in Columbia University. That's just like maybe 1 or 2 decades later, and then China had its own. Okay. However, after the People's Republic founded in 1949, shortly after that, in early 1950s, the social work was so-called canceled, was eliminated. And not just social work, but sociology, public administration, political science, most of the social and behavioral sciences were eliminated from higher ed and professional education. Next slide, please. Okay, so that's the early, and then you see, what happened in China, the culminating, politicalization in terms of the Cultural Revolution. Basically, nothing was possible in terms of building something like a profession. The social sciences, behavior sciences were eliminated anyhow. Now, after the end of Cultural Revolution, China started opening door and reform, and a major thing that is that they started restoring the social science and behavior sciences. And first, they reestablished sociology and the social work. Was also began to develop. I actually was one of the earliest pioneers in rebuilding social work in China. I was teaching at Sun Yat-sen University at Guangzhou, and when there was nothing there in terms, no one knows what social worker means professionally. No one even knew what the concept of casework or even the term community was not there. No Chinese even was aware there was such a term. So I was charged, with when we started a collaborative project with the University of Hong Kong in mid-1980s, and that was the country's first to initiate the reconstruction of social work in China. So from a personal experience, okay, so that's basically, I just gave a little like a line of development in terms of professional social work. Now, the other line that I just mentioned, the state line of society work. And based on my personal observations, experience, the years I grew up in China, there was no such thing called social work or society work. The party, the state, they were political. They were talking about a mass work in terms of, working with the grassroots people, serving them, or sort of establishing the grassroots level political power in terms of community, community undertaking. So that's basically it. For those few decades, there was nothing. But in 2023, all of a sudden, the Central Committee of the Communist Party, they established a department of 社会工作. Originally, even my book on Chinese social work published, last year, when they didn't throw out this new term society work, I still translated into social work. I say, okay, now the central government had a department called social work department. Now I'm actually publishing a second book with social work, professionals, and I have to clarify. Today is actually the beginning to clarify. Oh, that is not a social work. It's called society work. Okay, so that's the second line. Now, next slide, please. Okay, actually, I would like I just want to recap a little. First, I talk about conceptual issues. Second, I talk about the history of the two lines of development. Now, there is a question. There was a question, theoretical question that I had for years, ever since I was leading that effort in China, starting that kind of rebuilding of social work in China. Because at that time, China just started reform, opening up. And then the slogan is that, in the Cultural Revolution, everything was political. Okay, they say politics, put politics in command. Let's take a class struggle, so-called class struggle, as the key link to everything. So everything is political. Now, after the reform and open door, everything became economic. So the slogan became, okay, let's take economy as the center of the party and the state's work, of the center of attention of the whole society. And everybody, let's go to do business. And so anyhow, either in the political period or in the economic period, the open door and you see the economic miracle during the 30 years of Chinese economic reform. There was no place for social. So, so that's why for me, I was very concerned at that time because I was charged with this building of social worker profession, and also, I was the general designer basically for the new social security or social welfare system for Canton, the most developed province in China. I was hoping that we could develop something like a Western welfare state. Okay, let's launch a lot of welfare programs, do a lot of social services. But whenever I make a proposal, I talk to the leaders, I never get a response. So I was very frustrated and I was very puzzled. And I want to provide some sort of a theoretical answer to this question. Was China a welfare state? Or would China become a welfare state? And I couldn't find any answer. And I went to Hong Kong, studied at the University of Hong Kong. I read all the books from, like Tiedemann, those welfare state advocates. And I came to the United States and I learned this American welfare state thing. I couldn't get an answer. And finally, I read this book by Robert Morris. And there was just one page there showing this systematic systems framework for policy analysis. That really, really helped me to to resolve my questions. Just look at this level D. Okay, normally we start from that level, so D level, sectoral policy. So if you are doing, engaging in health policy, or if you are doing, income security, or if you are working with the elderly, and you are just most concerned with what you do, and then if you don't get funded, you're underfunded, you get very frustrated, and you fight, and you even fight with your colleagues. In other sectors, like my professor at UCLA, he wrote a book about, those professionals working for the aging and fighting with those professionals working for the disabled, because they are fighting for, the resources. But that does not provide the whole picture. Okay, so you have the rise above to the level of C, which is called the general public policy, and I shorten it as a GPP. If you Google my ratings, I have a lot of them are in Chinese. I haven't really put it in English yet. It's a GPP. It's a guide to the priority aims and the preferred means of a policy system. So the definition is very, very simple, but it's crucial to determine a country's policy system. For example, if we look at World War II, every country was engaging in a war, fighting. And after the World War II ended, and people started reflecting, no, government, public policy should not be so preoccupied with the wars. And then what they should be more cared about, welfare. So that's why the public policy pattern shifted from a warfare state to welfare state that has lasted for decades. Okay, and now my question about China is that China's welfare state, and after a lot of study, okay, using data, blah blah, I cannot show here, but my conclusion is that China was not a welfare state. Okay. And
With that conclusion, Dr.
okay.
Chen, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah. I will wrap it up in
yeah.
1 minute. Okay, I will wrap it up in 1 minute.
Okay.
Okay. So China actually is an economic state. Okay. So now can you turn the slides? Okay. Let's go to go to actually the last slide. Okay. So that I can really okay. The one here. Now, the question is, in terms of the two lines now in China, one is the professional social work, and the other one is the party states work. It's called society work. Now, with the same Chinese term, and who calls the shots? Who calls the tune? Okay, when you talk about 社会工作, originally social workers, they were saying, oh, this is our business. Now the party state talking about it, now joined by public administration professionals, okay, scholars. They talk about this, and then that has made the professional social workers feel much marginalized. Okay, much marginalized. So I think for the next, some time, a few years or decades, Chinese, they will have to struggle with these conceptual issues and the disciplinary issues, and also the historical issues. I think the party state and the public administration's focus is on governance, but for social work, as a helping professional, and their focus is help. So this is basically a question, help versus governance. What should 社会工作 be focused on? Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chen. I have so many comments and so many questions for you, but for the sake of time, I need to keep us moving. I will save those questions for the closing session time, and I will invite you again to answer those questions. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay, so
Thank
our
you.
next presenters, I am very excited about the this coming presentation, which is I would say very innovative and today in demand. Process and future-based decision making using generative AI. And I invite Dr. Bernardo and Dr. Rodas to please enlighten us about their topic and their work. Thank you. You are muted, Dr. Bernardo.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for having us. This is a really exciting topic as Dr. Bernardo and I have been working on this for the past year, and we both have a lot of leadership experience within K-12 settings. And it's really interesting where AI is going to take us. And I'm going to present um, my slides for today, but also I'm going to share my screen related to doing a quick demo related to essentially how what we're going to show you takes place. All right, Dr. Bernard, you want us to take us through kind of the genesis of this, and then sort of kind of the convergence of decision making and AI, and then I'll go ahead and do our quick demo.
Sure. Thank you. We're calling what we do, for the moment at least, convergence. It was very interesting to me to hear all these great presentations, and I kept hearing those words of relationships, and that's about human beings clearly, and the qualities of interacting and engaging with each other to solve issues and to help each other and to empower each other. And we certainly acknowledge that, and certainly see how how that's a major issue clearly in the times that we live in. The idea of convergence is to take what the future seems to be bringing to us, namely this artificial intelligence concept that Matt's going to dazzle you with in a little bit. So I'm going to talk pretty fast. But what we're talking about is futures-based decision making using generative AI. And the question really is the important one. What does and I think Dr. Chen actually spoke to this very clearly. What does the future want of us? What does the future look like? And what are we obligated to do to bring about the preferred futures that we want? And we see that from three corners, probably more, but the three that we're emphasizing would be a word that sometimes I don't like to use because it's so belabored. I'll call it strategic planning. Another premise that we use is futuring, and the artificial intelligence, where they converge in that sweet spot to work with each other, to combine with each other to synthesize futures-based action design to bring about any of the issues that you have raised in these presentations today. All right, next slide, please. I won't even read that one to you. We'll go to the next one just so we can, for the sake of time. Next slide, please.
Yeah, it's going. So these are just all the applications of what we're discussing, and these are all human-based institutions and things that organizations need to do in order to make things happen. And really kind of what we're going to show you is can be demoed within all these various types of environments. And the goal is to really help organizations make decisions, whether in crisis or, like we mentioned, strategic planning, for long-term planning into the future. But also we can look at this at the very micro and macro levels. And what's amazing is that we can take a lot of organizational data and how people maybe interact and communicate, as well as possibly even variables of that particular organization's culture, into what the AI is going to do in regards to taking a particular scenario and simulating it. And we're using frontier models for this, and we also provide essentially a futures-based set of instructions and frameworks as a programming for these models to then produce some simulations based on the scenarios we've provided. So in the context of the organization really matters. And we take, this is a school, for example, this type of information here is that we can take out, data related to student achievement, demographics, financial data, climate, and just so much more. We can look at public perception. We can look at social media. We can do search data, because now we have deep research functionalities, which essentially send agents to scan many different parts of the internet as well as data sources. So that really helps us with the simulations and make them hopefully a little bit more accurate as to what's actually happening on the ground in these organizations. Rich, you want to talk about the theoretical underpinnings real quick, and then I'll go
Yeah,
quickly to
real
the
quick, we just wanted to point out that being good college people ourselves, Matt and I, we have any number of theoretical frames to go with that. I think you need to go another slide down, Matt. And again, I'm not going to read all of these to you, but we're talking about, and these things were discussed earlier by any number of you. We have systems thinking, we have creative thinking, we have this futures-based decision thinking, and we have the futuring premise, especially. I noted one book that I'm very fond of by Amy Webb, right in the corner from you folks, and John Jay, she's out of NYU. The signals are talking, and are they ever talking? Aren't they? He asked rhetorically. And so all of those kinds of theories and issues and thinkers are found someplace in and among how we frame the simulation approach and how Matt has shaped the artificial intelligence to help us synthesize and converge all these pieces together.
So we have a particular scenario, and essentially what the scenario is we developed a scenario related to a college, and I'm hopeful that I can present this over here. I'm going to share my additional screen so you can see this. It's essentially a scenario about a hypothetical college. We're going to call it Rolling Hills. And essentially, they talk about within this scenario a number of things that are going on, kind of related to today's times, financial uncertainty, as well as staffing issues, as well as definitely just some leadership issues as well, and dynamics between various individuals. Is there a way I can pull what I'm sharing right now onto the screen? Because I'm trying to, I have it right here. It's next to my name, but I can't pull it.
So you click on present, and then you will see share screen.
I
Present?
do. I do. It says stop share. I can stop share, but then I'm going to click present again, and I'm
You
sharing
can
my
click
screen.
here.
And then do you see that it's sharing my screen right now?
No. You can also, you click share, and then you select what you want to share. You will see like a menu.
Exactly. I mean, on my end, it shows that I'm sharing. But anyways, essentially what we're doing is we have this scenario, and what we do is we take this scenario along with our future-based decision-making framework, and we're going to essentially take that scenario that we've developed, and in practicality, what it is that we meet with leaders, we meet with stakeholders within an organization.
If you send me your link, I can share it from here probably. If
Okay,
there's a
let
link
me
that
go
you
ahead
want to
and
share.
share it. Yeah, I'll share you two documents.
Yeah.
And as Matt's doing that and sending it over to Sophia, I will tell you that the scenario is actually pretty detailed, and it captures, in the sense, so many of you are heavily involved with school, with the university operations and governance. You're going to see many similarities to issues that you experience every day that are afflicting and affecting the successes of school systems all the way through. And we'll be happy to share that with you down if you ask for it up the road.
Is this what you want to share?
Yeah, that was it. It just finally came up.
Yeah, it disappeared. Okay.
Yeah, it's just, there it is. So this is the scenario, and then it's just basically we meet with leaders relating to what's going on in their school or their organization, and we set up this kind of, lets the AI know the context of the situation, and then what we'll do is we'll upload data related to the school or the scenario into our framework with the AI, and ultimately what that does is it will allow us to, I'm going to share my screen again and get these outputs. And there's somewhat different outputs related to these models, but you're going to see the deep research piece. And essentially, we have a process where we go through 3 essentially rounds in 3 different simulation rounds. So we ask the AI to simulate the simulation, a scenario about 10 times, and then we have leaders review it and then determine what's the most preferred future. And ultimately, after the most preferred future, we run that scenario again based on some more data that we're able to collect. And then ultimately, after the second round, we get down to really some more preferred futures. And then at that point, we sit down with them and use the AI with them to develop a action plan to make it happen. So for this particular scenario, we had a number of simulations related to this university. We talked about federal pressure, and then thereafter, it gives us various types of things that are going on related to the scenario. It gives us key factors that are happening related to that scenario. And then we have Future Wheel, which is discussing the primary, secondary, and tertiary impacts of what's essentially happening in that simulated scenario. And then we have the Cross Impact Matrix, looking at a wide variety of combined impacts that are impacting that scenario.
Yeah, if I could jump, Mac, if I could jump
Go
in.
ahead.
So if you just slide up a little back, well, you can stay with that scenario too if you want. So there's 10 different scenarios that are squeezed out by what the input was that Matt demonstrated a minute ago. And now, the group, the human beings, have to decide which of those they prefer, which of ones that they think that they can bring off of, which of the ones that they don't think they even want to have anything to do with. And then you can see if you should take a quick look at what's scenario 2 about, Matt.
It's about workforce driven realignment because of New York City's labor market booming and a tight hiring climate. Rolling Hills adapts its curriculum in partnerships.
And then you can see. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Matt.
No, go ahead.
No, you can see that all of these probable futures kick out, squeezed out, ripple out by what the AI is generating. And you continue to flip that back and turn that back across the 3 rounds that Matt was talking about in order to begin to make decisions among the group, among the human beings, to decide which ones they think they can bring together in order to come up with an action design that really has so much to do with or an effective way to restructure what Rolling Hills is doing. You can see it gets very sophisticated.
And then talking about enrollment changes and amid public skepticism for public education, that brought a particular piece of scenario. And it's very interesting. A lot of times these simulated scenarios provide us with, they reaffirm our beliefs, but they also give us maybe variables or thoughts that we may have not thought of previously. And that's really helpful when you're working with decision makers, especially in crisis, as well as long-term strategic planning. And in this particular scenario that we initially provided, the AI provided us with what it thinks is the most preferred scenario, is the innovative tech integration solution, where this particular university invests highly in AI, in investments in IT and data analytics and digital pedagogy, and focuses on Gen Z and Alpha students in their interest, and then just giving us primary, secondary, tertiary impacts of if you made those types of decisions as an organization, in this case the university. And essentially, you would provide this with the leadership, and there'd be facilitators, usually Rich and I, and each round we get closer and closer and closer to what the stakeholders and decision makers believe in that room to be the more preferred future. And ultimately, we want to create that action plan so that we can create SMART goals, so that we can put those actions into policy within the organization and try to get closer to that preferred future. But ultimately, this is a continuous process where we would want to sit down with leadership teams and do this probably quarterly, so that we can go back and see what actions and data we were able to collect and what changes have occurred in the organization, and also around the organization, outside the organization.
We've all been part of planning groups and picking and choosing things and know how long and arduous that can take to come to any sort of conclusion, notwithstanding the variables that interfere with effective analysis of what this is all about. And with this, what we're trying to demonstrate here are ways to magnify the convergence and emphasis between, as a partnership of mutual empowerment between whatever the capacity of AI can offer us and the simulated processes and activities to create actual action planning designs along the lines of any of the issues that you've raised today. It would be kind of interesting to see how these things could be applied to any of the topics that you've brought up today.
And what I like about this, when you use deep research, you can do a final synthesis of these probable and preferred futures, and it gives you a synopsis of what's most probable to happen based on the simulated scenarios. In this case, for this university, it's federal pressure, local resilience, enrollment changes, possibly a trend towards stagnation, and then talking more about the preferred futures and essentially how those can possibly happen, and giving the pros and cons related to those, those futures. So it's a very interesting process, and it's something that I think organizations really need to embed and utilize AI to simulate essentially what's happening so that we can make smarter decisions. So it's data-driven decision making to the next, I think the next degree with incorporating these generative AI models. While not perfect, it gives us more perspective than we've ever historically had.
There are three kinds of futures. There's what's possible, there's what's probable, and there's what's preferable. Possible is obviously a kind of a wild card. What people need to spend most of their time is what's probably going to happen. And again, given the circumstances that we're all navigating as we speak, literally, we can see that there's a whole array of probable futures out there that may or may not dominate what we can expect in the actual scenario that we may be living through up the road, not in the not too distant future, let alone the long-term one. And then you go to the premise of preferable. What you really need to think about is whether the probable future that you see is what you really want. If there's a gap between what's probable and what's preferable, you need all the resources and thinking processes that you can invest to more nearly assure yourself that you're going to have what your students need, what those individuals in the prison systems, for example, may need, and so forth. Need our attention maybe from different ways than we've actually been able to give them that kind of attention.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rose and Dr. Bernardo, for such a visionary and forward-thinking presentation. I have so many comments and questions here, and I will read some to you. First, the comments. Someone is saying your process for scenario building and AI-empowered decision-making illustrates how educational leaders can responsibly anticipate and navigate future challenges using data-informed collaborative tools. And for question, I have two questions here that I would read to you. One of them is, Jay is asking, as we adopt generative AI for scenario planning and strategic foresight, how can we ensure these tools empower rather than override human judgment, especially in contexts where ethical dilemmas and equity are at stake?
Yeah, and that was something we've talked about a lot. That's why I emphasized the point of convergence. All of the decisions rest with the human beings. In other words, the AI is demonstrating the probabilities, but it's not saying you have to pick this particular one. And so, in the end, the leaders and the co-planners, the co-deciders, still have that responsibility resting with them. We feel very strongly about that ethically, and it just makes sense more than as much as anything else.
Thank you so much. And the second question that I must ask here is, what initially interested you guys in AI?
I mean, just for me, since I've always been interested in ed tech and technology, and my dissertation's on data literacy. So AI is all about data. So that's essentially just the next step forward. And it's just very interesting and it's changing the world. So why not be interested in something that's changing the world?
Right, it is indeed the demand of the time as well. Thank you so much, Dr. Bernardo and Dr. Rhodes. Thank you so much.
Our pleasure.
Yep.
Hello, everybody. I'm back, and we have some minutes. Here is Dr. Cheng and some of our speakers. Other speakers are already in YouTube watching us, and thank you very much. Dr. Cheng, I know you have one question that you didn't have chance to answer, so we'll give a chance this time to answer. As new generation of social workers and public sector servants come into government agencies, what is the one piece of advice you will give them?
Well, that's a wonderful question. I would say keep your mind open. Okay, don't lock yourself in a particular discipline or profession, be it social work or public administration or something else. Our world now, it's really featured, characterized not only by AI, but also by interdisciplinary work. So in order to succeed and thrive in this world, if just like those social workers now in China, a lot of them are kind of disillusioned and they are struggling. That's because they only look at things from a social worker perspective. If they could look at things from public administration perspective, just like me, I am a professor of social work. I am also a professor of public administration, so I can use the different interdisciplinary perspective. I understand. So otherwise, you will really feel, a lot of times, just like the systems framework, if you stay at the D level, sectoral policies, kind of a solos, and then you don't see the big picture. And that's going to be a big problem for your mentality and also for the work you do. And also, in decision making, and then limit your capability to make a larger contribution. So that's my advice.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cheng, and thank you to
Thank you.
all the, I will say goodbye to you, so to give my last words, and thank you, Dr. Ikram, you have been wonderful. I just want to tell everybody thank you for being here. Thank you for following us in this virtual conference. It has been a pleasure and a learning. We have really have used our time to learn also how to manage the YouTube and everything. Thank you to all the people who have been commenting, to Jennifer, Raquel, thank you very much, Tiffany. I have all these names, Peacocks, to all of the people who have been following us and answering, making all these questions. And I will hope you to continue seeing you and continue discussing to all these great topics. So good night, everybody. You want to say something else, Hamid, about the journal, maybe?
Yes.
Or last commercial of the journal?
I would really take a minute to actually ask our presenters to submit their full papers for our journal, the coming issue, fall 2025. And I have already posted the link for the journal in the chat. I will do it again. Please submit your full papers to our journal for the expedited publication. Thank you so much.
Okay, 1 second. Let me just show you the page of the journal.
The journal,
everybody,
yes.
it's very important for us because this is one of our sponsors, Dowling International Academy, have been working with us for a long time.
And
they
meanwhile, you're
want us
sharing, Dr. Marote, I must mention that it doesn't have to be a full empirical studies. You could submit your papers as a brief paper, as an essay, as your experience paper, and we will happy to review them and publish them in our journal. This is the third year we are publishing papers, and you would have a great platform to actually disseminate your findings to the bigger audience that we have. This is the website that we have.
Yes, and this also, besides the journal, we have Dowling International Academy have an event on May 17, 9 to 11:30 in Long Beach Hotel. Everybody who have signed to the program will be receiving the information. It's excellent. We just have a conversation about AI, and I was out with all the information that Dr. Bernardo and the other speaker was giving us, it was amazing. Here, Dr. Bernato, and what's his name? I forgot. 1 second. I was
Dr.
looking for
Rhodes.
you. Dr. Rhodes, I was looking for you. He left. I was looking for you. Okay, but it's amazing, all this information. In our website, in the Dowling International website is also the program, and all this information that we have receiving today is also there. So please take the time to read it. Okay, thank you very much. Have a beautiful evening, and bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.